Hey there, class. Mr. Prosky here. Hope you're having a good day so far. We're continuing with the last section, well, for this year at least, the last section of 9.6. It may be different in the future, but for now, 9.6 is one of the last sections of the chapter. Today we're talking about what's called the discriminant. It's applications of the discriminant. So our central question is, what is a discriminant and how do we use a discriminant to figure out solutions to a quadratic equation, okay? The discriminant, this is actually a pretty straightforward lesson because you've already done the quadratic formula, which is the harder part, and the discriminant is just a specific part of the quadratic formula. So let me just sing the formula again really quick here, just to make sure that it's stuck in our brain. It's x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. All right, just so we got that stuck in our head again. So the discriminant is the expression that is under the radical of the quadratic formula. So what's under the radical here? Well, you can see it's going to be b squared minus 4ac. And so when we're calculating the discriminant, we're literally only calculating b squared minus 4ac. We don't do a square root. We don't do the rest of the formula. We literally just calculate b squared minus 4ac, and depending on what that number is, if it's positive, negative, or zero, it's going to be a different type of solution, okay? And so what we're going to put here, we're going to put the discriminant is used to find the number of solutions of the quadratic equation, okay? So there's a couple possible results. There's only like 3 types of numbers we can really work with here in terms of the discriminant. If b squared minus 4ac is positive, we are going to have 2 solutions. If it is 0, we're going to have 1 solution. And if it's negative, it's going to be no real solution. Okay? And why? So we can talk more about like, so if it's 0 solution, if it's square root of 0, so say there's a 0 up under the square root there, what's going to happen? I'm going to write to the left over here a little bit. So if we have negative b plus or minus square root of 0 all over 2a, well, what's the square root of 0? That's 0, right? So it's going to cancel out because negative b plus or minus 0 over 2a is just going to be plus or minus 0 does the same thing, so it's just going to be negative b over 2a basically, right? So when you have a discriminant of 0, there's only 1 solution. There's not going to be the plus or minus like there is here. And also, the other, if you have a negative under a square root, well, that's an issue, right? Because we can't square root a negative number. So if you have a 0 discriminant, it basically means the square root's going to cancel and it's going to be 1 solution that's going to end up because the plus or minus is going to cancel out. And if it's negative, it's going to be no solution because you can't square root a negative. So the nice thing about the discriminant and the quadratic formula is it can solve, that we have factoring, which we're going to learn in chapter 10, but the quadratic formula can find every single solution, no matter if it's 2 solutions, if it's an imaginary number. It will find every solution to a quadratic equation, and sometimes solutions are not real, they're imaginary, but so the discriminant tells you what kind of solutions you're going to have based on what number it is, okay? So why don't we do one together, and we'll try another one on our own. So we have x squared plus 3x minus 4 equals 0. We got to find our a, b, and c here. So what's our a? A is 1. What's our b? 3. And what's our c? Negative 4. So I'm not going to plug in the whole formula. And if you plug in the whole formula, I'm going to point and laugh at you because you're doing extra work. We're literally only care about b squared minus 4ac and what kind of number that is here, okay? So b squared is 3 squared in parentheses minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 4. And you can just plug that whole thing into your calculator if you want to, but I like to do a little bit of simplification too. So 3 squared is 9. And then negative 4 times 1 times negative 4 is plus 16. And our answer is 9 plus 16 is 25. Well, is 25, is that positive, negative, or a 0 number? It's a positive number, so how many solutions do we have? We have 2 solutions, like we talked about earlier. Ta-da! Pretty straightforward, right? It's literally just find what the number is, and then depending on what answer you get, it's going to be 2 solutions, 1 solution, or no solution. See if you can do number 2 on your own. Give it a try. All right, welcome back. So what's our A, B, and C for this one? Well, A is going to be 2, B is going to be 2, C is going to be 11. So we're plugging into b squared minus 4ac. So we have b squared is 2 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 11. Zoom back up here. So that's going to be 2 squared is 4 minus, so then 4 times 2 times 11 is negative 88. And what's 4 minus 88? That is negative 84. So is that number positive, negative, or 0? It's negative, so the answer is going to be how many solutions? No real solution. Okay, there we go. All right, sounds good. Let's do another example now. So it says finding the number of x-intercepts. This is the same thing as finding the solutions. This is just kind of redundant information. So we're going to do the same thing, except one thing we need to be careful about, though, which we talked about with quadratic formula. Quadratic formula needs to be equal to what number? It needs to be equal to 0. So the solutions to x-intercepts occur when y equals 0. They're the same things as solutions. So we're just going to change this y equals x squared minus 10x plus 25 into 0 equals x squared minus 10x plus 25. Okay? So why don't you see if you can find your a, b, and c and figure out what kind of discriminant or solution you have there. Okay, what's our a, b, and c? Well, a is 1, b is negative 10, and c is 25. So we're going to plug into b squared minus 4ac. So b squared is negative 10 squared minus 4 times a is 1 and c is 25. Negative 10 squared is 100. And then we have minus 100. Negative 4 times 1 times 25 is minus 100, which equals what? That equals 0. The discriminant is 0. So the solution has how many solutions? One solution, because in the quadratic formula, it's going to cancel out the square root. And it's going to have, that means it has one x-intercept. Solutions and x-intercepts are the same thing. Okay? All right, one last example for today. Same thing. Why don't you do the same thing we just did here and solve for number 2. Okay, related equation. We have 0 equals 2x squared minus 3x minus 8. What's our a, b, and c? Well, it's going to be 2, negative 3, and negative 8. So we're going to plug into b squared minus 4ac. So b squared is negative 3 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is negative 8. And negative 3 squared is positive 9. Negative 4 times 2 times negative 8 is positive 64. And 9 plus 64 is 73. Is it positive, negative, or 0? It's positive, so the solution has how many solutions if it's positive? 2 solutions. And that means it has 2 x-intercepts, because solutions and x-intercepts are the same thing. All right, probably one of our shorter lessons. Thank you for watching. Have a great day, and we will talk soon.